Kamala Harris is in Michigan. She's in Detroit and Flint today. Donald Trump was in Saginaw yesterday. Michigan is crucial in the upcoming election. Why are they spending so much time here? Well, maybe they placed a bet that they're going to win. In the latest news under the world has gone crazy, a recent court ruling has paved the way for legal betting on U.S. elections. You think Donald Trump's going to win the presidency? Throw down a bet. You think Kamala Harris is going to win Michigan? You can bet on that too. Why not go for a parlay and bet that Donald Trump and Mike Rogers will both win in Michigan? You can make even bigger money back on your bet. The ruling has raised various questions about its implications for electoral integrity, public perception, and the overall political landscape. Let's bring in our friend Roshini, political strategist, attorney, and host of the Crisis Files podcast. Hey, Roshini, how are you?
Kevin, this is definitely has the makings of a crisis.
This is bad.
This is bad. I mean, just when you think it couldn't get crazier, it just did. And we're not just talking about this election, but we're talking about the future of our country. And look, all the corruption that we know is there, all the perceived corruption that we don't know about, but know is there, that is only going to exponentially grow if this thing stays in place. So the legal story on this isn't over, but for now, this is a loss for America and a loss for the Constitution.
Look, people have heard about sports betting. It's been around for a long time, and we've heard about lots of sports betting scandals where players are paid off to throw a game. Officials have been paid off to make sure teams don't score enough points so that people can bet the under and get a guaranteed win. There is corruption in gambling for sure. And to add this to our elections, if people have big money on this thing, you don't think they're going to try and get every advantage they can or try and cheat the system to win a bet, let alone to maybe change who's the president of the United States?
Of course they are going to try. That is what the problem is with this. If we really think about it, you opened up talking about all the parlays, and I've talked about it on the Crisis Files. You can, what was the quarterback? What are the quarterbacks eating for breakfast? There's a parlay on that. I mean, that is a fun kind of thing. And even though there's corruption just laden throughout and laced throughout some of the sports betting, it's not really going to change the peace between nations or bring war. This kind of betting, if this really gets to go full throttle, it has the makings of, I mean, disaster. We're talking multiple wars, other kinds of things. And sometimes people we just don't want running for office. And, some might say that's happening now and you get who you deserve kind of a thing. But this would just open that up so much more. So I am really hoping, Kevin, the legal story is just kind of around the 50% line or the 50-yard line, if we're going to use a sports analogy. So the same court, it sounds like, if I'm reading the history on the legal history on it, that kind of said no, is now saying, oh yeah, we're going to lift the ban. You can do that. So there's still more layers where this could get appealed and more angles on this legally, depending on who's bringing the claim or who's bringing the appeal to. So I hope it's not over, but it really is a sad day. When I read the first headlines on this, it's a sad day for us.
Yeah, why stop at betting on elections? Let's bet on whether or not World War III will come. You can put some money down, and then you can start rooting for World War III. I mean, it's not that far from that. I mean, it's really wild. What are the legal issues that they're looking at? Is this a constitutional issue?
Well, it's the kind of thing that our Constitution probably couldn't have even imagined. The level of, there's probably been gambling from time immemorial, but I don't know that the framers would have imagined this specific thing for, at least we're talking about congressional elections right now. So not all elections, but congressional elections. So there are a couple different layers to look at this legally. So you have, local municipalities, you have state laws, and then of course the federal laws. So at every layer, there could be rules and regulations or bans. And even now, as some of the stories are reporting, there are some states that allow things like this. But this is pretty big because it's the whole congressional state. So when you think about the Congress, it's the Congress in America is actually the Senate and the House.
Right.
So that is both bodies. So that's a lot. It's 538 members every 2 years or every 6 years. So think about just the volume as well as the impact. If anybody that's in those jurisdictions, and actually you don't even have to be in the jurisdiction or in the congressional district or the Senate district of your particular leader. Texas could be betting on Maine, could be betting on Hawaii. I mean, you're getting a lot of mixed, voices that are coming into different local and statewide elections, or, it's for the federal, they are statewide. If it's a U.S. senator, for example, do you really want voices from California, Hawaii, Texas, Delaware talking to you if you're in Michigan? I don't think so. The people of Michigan elect their federal leaders. So it's those kinds of things. And of course, I'm projecting out to some of the worst case scenarios here, but that's kind of what I do. I'm a crisis strategist. So we're always planning for the worst.
Well, yeah, but and just the impact, the odds come out, and it's Mike Rogers versus Alyssa Slotkin, and for the Michigan Senate seat, and it comes out, and the odds are really high for one candidate over the other. That could actually impact turnout. People could just say, "Oh, well, this candidate doesn't even have a chance. Look at the odds, the betting odds in this race. I'm not even going to waste my time to go and vote."
Exactly. That is the point. One of the most beautiful things about our country is that we have this Constitution, and when you are of legal voting age, one person, one vote. You don't have to share any news about who you vote with anybody. It's a private decision that you make. That what this does is kind of slap that in the face. I'm even not a big believer of when the polls close on the east. In the big election
Right.
day. That anyone should be able to report that until the polls close in the West, so that the people in the West and the Midwest can have their vote before knowing what the people in the East are doing. So I just think we have to get back to more of a pure form of one person, one vote, and protecting the electoral system as well as just elections in general. And this opens up some pretty tough floodgates.
So every individual state will decide if they're going to do this or not, or try to decide that.
For their elections, Kevin,
Yeah.
they have jurisdiction over their state and then local municipalities. But at the federal level, I mean, this appeals court is for now the top law of the land, voice of the land, and that's what's granted because we're talking about congressional federal elections.
Right, but the individual states, are they in favor of this because of some sort of taxation, taxes, revenue that's going to come in from gambling? I mean, we've watched, so many states allow sports betting. In Michigan, we started with the casinos. Then we went to sports betting, and lots of states has followed suit. And it's all seems to be about the money.
Well, Kevin, what did we both say in our former life as TV reporters?
Follow
Always
the
follow
money.
the money. You follow the money. So you are right. You're very astute to bring that up. But unlike sports betting, which each state, it's roughly around 38 states that allow some form of sports betting, that's a very kind of easier to manage those kinds of bets. And again, the decisions of, am I going to choose, the Packers or the Vikings? Of course, you're going to choose the Vikings, in the Super Bowl one day. That doesn't have those kind of graphic consequences of who are we deciding to be the governor, to be the U.S. senator, to be the U.S. congressperson. So, it's a completely, there is an analogy to sports betting, but when you think about it, as much as some people are opposed to sports betting, it doesn't have the life or death consequences if we allow people to do that and let the revenue come in. That something like this, I really see the potential for having life and death consequences.
All right, Roshini Rajkumar, political strategist, attorney, and host of the Crisis Files. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right. The legal story is not over on this one. We will have to wait and see how this one plays out, if it gets to the Supreme Court or not. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more. You're listening to All Talk.